In this video, we will be covering the bottom 2 tiers of the ultimate UFO and alien iceberg. If you haven't checked out the previous 4 parts of this series, maybe go check them out before watching this. But in this part, we will be covering, as I said, some of the more obscure entries, strange alien sightings, very strange, weird, kind of out there alien theories, and yeah, probably a bunch that you have never even heard of. So, without further ado, grab a drink. My choice today is Marrakesh mint tea, and join me as we explore the bottom 2 tiers of the ultimate UFO and alien iceberg. In tier 5, we have the Allagash Abductions. So these were the abductions of 4 men in 1976 in Allagash, Maine, and they were out camping in the middle of nowhere in August in the Maine wilderness when one of the men saw a strange light up in the sky. He was kind of taken aback by this. He looked up at the light, it kind of flickered, moved around a bit, and then eventually disappeared. And that was kind of it, at least for that night. Then, a few nights later, they saw another bright thing in the sky, but this thing was so bright, they actually compared it to the sun, of all things. They said it was so bright, it lit up the entire surrounding area, and it was just hovering there in the sky. Now, maybe the men were so drunk they didn't know what time it was, and it actually was daytime, and this was the sun, but I mean, probably not. But one of the men tried to signal to the craft, SOS, probably with a flashlight or something. Alright, I think I've just burnt my finger. But when he sent this signal up to the craft, it shot down like a spotlight at the men. Or rather, not directly at them, but kind of in the area. It was trying to locate, apparently, these men. And at the time of this incident, they were actually out on a boat doing some fishing. Night fishing, apparently. And then, all of a sudden, this light actually managed to find them. It struck them, and they just woke up back on the nearby shore. They had very little memory of how they got back to the shore, and the fire that they had just lit like minutes before actually going out onto the boat, when they found it, it was completely gone out, as if multiple hours of time had passed, even though they were only out there for a few minutes. And then that was more or less it. They finished their camping trip, they went back home, nothing really came of this, until 2 of the men started to have these strange memories, these strange nightmares of many things, but notably of these 4 men, fully naked, sitting on a bench, for some reason, in a strange place, feeling very vulnerable. And so they thought this was kind of strange. They went under hypnosis to try and fish out some of these memories, and then it all came back to them. While they were on this boat, when the bright light flashed down at them, according to this memory, these 4 men were actually abducted by this flying craft, and they had their skin probed and taken, they had their bodily fluids taken and tested and all of this, all while the aliens were telling them not to be afraid and to just do as they say, which again would make me even more terrified. And it's easier said than done when you're literally being operated on by aliens, and that was it. The men all did polygraph tests. All of them came back, positive, truthful, and while in the hypnosis sessions, the accounts all seemed to be fairly similar, so it seems pretty solid. There was the one small detail, however, of in 2016, one of the men came forward and said that he had lied about the abduction experience. He said he personally didn't remember it, but he just went along with it. And so it's up for you to decide whether this entire thing was a hoax, whether he personally just didn't remember, or he did actually remember and for some reason was coerced or talked into saying he didn't remember and saying it was all a lie. But anyhow, that is the case of the Allagash Abductions. Aliens live in video games, the Transcension Hypothesis. So this is a minor theory that we've actually covered earlier in the iceberg, and this says that the more advanced aliens get, the more likely they are to actually regress in terms of where they live rather than progress. So progression would be like physically moving outwards, exploring the galaxy, exploring space, setting up colonies, that sort of thing. And regression in this context means that the aliens get so advanced, that they're able to create realities, virtual realities, they're able to create artificial intelligence that is so convincing that it is indistinguishable from actual reality. And in many cases, it actually is better than reality, which kind of makes sense when you think about it. You know, even with our limited technology down here, people are more than willing to escape their actual lives and go into the life of, you know, a Skyrim character or a RuneScape character, essentially living a different life and doing things that you couldn't actually do in your reality. And if hypothetically you could live an entire lifetime in 5 minutes, why would aliens choose to live in this reality when they can get the exact same experience with advanced enough technology and live like 1,000 lifetimes in one of their lifetimes? So this idea says that we don't see as many aliens as we should do, because most of the really advanced ones are just stuck on one planet or one spaceship somewhere, and they're just chilling there, self-contained, living their own realities. Xenoarchaeology is, well, xeno meaning strange or weird or alien, and archaeology meaning, you know, digging up artifacts, finding ancient writings and ancient buildings, and learning about old technologies and cultures and civilizations. And so this is basically archaeology, but applied to aliens. Now, as you can imagine, actual human archaeology is pretty hard to do. You know, they have to dig often super deep in places to find anything. A lot of the stuff of ancient civilizations has either been looted or destroyed or long buried, and so xenoarchaeology is like a million times harder to do. A big part of this field of study is hypothetical or theoretical, but proponents of this science and study are constantly trying to get funding to try and explore stuff on the moon or explore stuff on Mars, you know, actually digging down into these planets to try and find old artifacts, old rubble from an alien temple or something, and as well as physical evidence. Well, I guess this is still physical, but they also try to use signals from space. So within xenoarchaeology, there's the study of, you know, radio signals or light coming from other planets, from other galaxies, to try and use that to find some form of evidence for aliens. And it's kind of strange because it's like a middle child in a way, where it's trying to be an actual science, it's trying to be respected among the scientific community. You know, there's very few like conspiracy theorist crazy people in this field, although there are a few, but it's trying to be closer to, you know, cosmology or astrophysics, where it is studying space, but it is very respected in science. So yeah, a very interesting field, and I would honestly like to see it funded a bit more. The Apollo 8 alien squid Zenoid. So this is this very strange thing that was spotted on the Apollo 8 space mission. Now, during the mission, they were up there in space, just floating around, bopping around, and while they were there, they took a bunch of photos. And obviously back then, they couldn't just look at the photos directly. They had to take them back down to Earth, have them processed, and so they didn't notice anything while they were up there. But after coming back down to Earth, after processing the photos, they saw this strange squid-like figure just chilling there in space. And honestly, this is a little terrifying. It kind of reminds me of a space squid or some sort of Lovecraftian horror or something. And there's no super definitive explanation for this because it was such a obscure occurrence. But people have theorized that it might be something like a space squid, you know, some kind of tentacled alien that's able to live in space. Or it might be evidence of a spacecraft of some kind, and these tentacles are actually like plasma or electricity, much in the same way that we have flames coming out of our rockets. Maybe the aliens have discovered some form of alternate technology, some alternate fuel source, and so when they turn on their thrusters, this is what comes out the back of it. Or people have said that it might be some sort of photo processing glitch, you know, that's caused this image to appear post-processing. But yeah, all very strange, and honestly, it is probably one of my favorite entries so far. Teenage Aliens Computer Game. So this is a very simple but obscure theory, kind of similar in ways to the simulation theory, that says that our Earth, our existence, our reality could all be just data in the video game of some alien. You know, like how we have Sims, where they have kind of basic, simple, kind of crappy AI. Imagine that, but like a million times more advanced, to the point that the AI actually believe that they're real. And that would be us. It is a fantastic theory, if not a little bit terrifying. And yeah, lovely. A bit of existential dread just before bed. Round Trip to Hell in a Flying Saucer is this insane book pamphlet written by a man named Cecil Michael in 1955, in which he describes his real-life experience of being abducted by these aliens and taken to the planet Hell. Like, it's literally a planet called Hell. And in this pamphlet, he goes into a ton of details about what these aliens looked like, what the planet looked like, what the leader of the planet looked like, and what was going on this planet Hell. So back in the day when this was written, Michael was a mechanic, and one day he witnessed this strange craft appear, and he saw these two beings inside the craft. Then the craft just flies away, he doesn't see it again, and it wasn't until 2 months later when he was actually visited by two aliens, and he described them as quite athletic, smooth-shaven, dark-complexioned men. And I mean, I don't know where this is going, but they came to Michael's repair shop and started to speak to him telepathically. And this happened multiple times over the next few months, with these two men, aliens, disappearing anytime someone else, came into the room. And at these meetings, Michael described basically what happened to him, and he said he was exploring space, kind of zipping around, and explored the planet Hell, but he was still always in his workshop. So he described it kind of like they were astrally projecting him, so he was still always down here on Earth, but also able to experience space and hell. But yeah, on one of his many journeys, Michael was brought up to Hell, and he described how it looked. It was red, it was flaming. It was more or less what we imagine Hell to be like. And he said there were people there, they were being brought in, resurrected, and made to suffer seemingly eternally there. And then he meets with the devil of all people, who basically offers him a job up there on Hell and says, look, we're having a wonderful life up here. It'd be super easy work. Everyone's lazing about. They're indulging in things, unless you're one of the people being tortured. But the workers seem to have a fantastic time. They probably have like a great union or something. But Michael is completely offended by this offer. He shouts, I will never work for Satan on the planet Hell. And he rebukes Satan in the name of Jesus Christ, and then is sent back down to Earth. Then in a final meeting with these strange men, they basically strongly suggest for him to write down his experiences and to put them in a pamphlet or a book of some sort, and he eventually did in a round trip to Hell in a flying saucer. This is just a fantastic read if you want to check it out, to explore it. It's about 60 pages long and ends with Michael writing, I rise before God and man to swear that this story I have written is a true account of the flying saucers of today and the supreme supernatural. Just perfect. In tier 6 we have the elevator into Twilight, and this is the theory and or experience of people finding all over the world, finding these strange elevators in seemingly common innocuous places that take them either to underground secret alien bases or to alternate planets or alternate dimensions or realities. These could be in a random alleyway or in the back of a storeroom or in an abandoned office space or something. And one account of this is from a woman who is staying with her mother in hospital, and she gets a little peckish. She goes to find a vending machine and realizes that the food court, the vending machines, etc. are all on the ground or basement floor. Now she's up on the 6th floor, so she jumps in the elevator, goes down, gets a Kit Kat, which fantastic choice by the way, and then she goes up, returns to her floor, steps out, and the entire floor is completely empty. There's no people, no equipment, no clipboards or patients or doctors or nurse stations or anything like that. And she walked around a little bit because she was confused. She went to the windows and saw these huge white buildings, giant skyscrapers, but not a single person in sight. Her phone didn't have any signal, so she sat around for a while, worried, confused, eventually found her way back to the elevator doors, stepped inside of them, went to the 5th floor, and thankfully when she got out, she stepped out into the hospital. She went back to her mum, who said she'd only been gone for like 5 minutes, even though it felt like over an hour, and that was it. It's a very strange concept, I think, but also very cool and interesting. It kind of gives me backroom sort of vibes, where you can step out, almost glitch outside our world and just enter this other strange world, strange dimension, maybe a bit of time travel. But yeah, a little scary, but very cool. The Russian Secret Alien Race book. So this is this insane book called The Book of Alien Races, and it was translated into English from originally being apparently a secret KGB document. And in this book it covers various alien races that have either been spotted or captured by the Soviet government. And the original version of of this book, the KGB version, it was apparently written as a handout to top KGB officials and agents in order to train them, in order to get them familiar with various aliens they might spot on their, secret KGB missions. And honestly, this book is just pure gold, pure insanity. It's an absolute treasure trove of alien races, of UFO encounters, documented alien contact, Russian attempts to copy some of this alien technology, to rebuild it, to capture the aliens, and it includes some wonderful alien races such as the Olgruk, aka lizard people, the Kili Tokirk, aka black-eyed children, the Pleiadians, or spiritual hippie aliens, the Kilimir Auk, and I'm just taking a stab at these pronunciations because they're all apparently written in alien and I don't speak alien. But yeah, there's 90 odd pages of this covering all that I mentioned before, as well as secret alien meetings and discoveries between the aliens and the Russians and the Americans. And honestly, it's just an incredibly fun read. If you want to check it out, find a PDF for it somewhere, make yourself a nice cup of tea, and have yourself a lovely evening. Soviet Stone Soldiers. So this is a document, an official document, still to this day posted up on the CIA website, and it documents the case of how after the dissolution of the USSR, a lot of the KGB material and documents, etc., made their way outside of Russia and either into American hands or European hands. And this mentions and covers one such document, which was apparently a 250-page document covering a particular incident involving a UFO and a Soviet military unit located in Siberia. And the file contained testimonies from soldiers, it contained photos, images, and tells of this event out in Siberia where this unit of soldiers all saw this strange flying craft in the sky, and one of them, for some reason, fired a ground-to-air missile at it. And, I can tell you what the reason was. It was an alien spacecraft. Is that not reason enough? But they hit this craft, the craft goes crash landing down to the ground, and the soldiers all go over there to check it out. And when they do, these tiny alien creatures come out of the craft. They somehow combine into one, ball of energy or something, and this ball of energy explodes, basically turning all the soldiers in sight into stone. Two of the soldiers were far enough away and or behind cover, so they weren't turned to stone. And the file goes on to say that these stone soldiers were taken away. They were taken to Moscow to a research center, a secret military one. And it says that this source of energy that is still unknown to humans instantly transformed the molecular structure and composition of these soldiers so that their bodies, their makeup, was no different to that of limestone, which I think is equal parts hilarious and terrifying. But yeah, go check out the file if you want on the, again, official CIA website, as it is honestly a thing of wonders. Einstein visited Roswell Site. So this was a tale of events told by Einstein's assistant, Dr. Shirley Wright, and this was in these uncovered tapes from 1993, in which she said that her and Einstein were basically flown over to America in New Mexico, or New Mexico in America, and Einstein was asked to give his opinion on the crashed UFO at Roswell. She says that when they were flown over there, they were shown the craft, they were shown the little aliens inside of the craft, and that this aircraft was kind of shiny from afar, but a little more dull and rough as you got up close to it. She said the aliens looked all fairly similar, around 5 feet tall, bald, big heads, big eyes, greenish, grayish skin. And she said while she personally was freaking out a little bit, that Einstein was kind of calm, cool, collect, and he said it mostly intrigued him, but also reassured him that other beings existed out there, and actually made him hopeful for the future of science, of space discovery. And then she said her and Einstein were basically sworn to secrecy and were sent back to Europe, and she never spoke about it again until obviously 1993 when she had these tapes recorded. And the Einstein Foundation actually says they have no records of where Einstein was around that time or even what he was doing, so that's something. And it does make sense in a lot of ways. If you have a crashed craft, if you have strange stuff from space, alien technology, technology, another species of being, it might make sense to bring basically the smartest guy in science at the time down there to give his opinion on it all. So yeah, a very interesting one. We do have to take his assistant's word on this, which is part of the downside of this case. But let me know your thoughts on this one down below. Aliens live in the fabric of reality. So this is a theory which we did again cover earlier, so I won't go too deeply into it, but it's basically part of a wider theory that says that aliens as we know them might not actually exist. You know, often when we're looking for aliens, we look for kind of human-like aliens. You know, they've got a mouth, they breathe, a nose, 2 eyes, 2 arms, 2 legs, a head. But firstly, what if aliens are like weird squid or slug-like creatures? And even further than that, what if they're not creatures at all? What if somehow they became so unbelievably advanced that they were basically able to in some way transfer their consciousness into actual reality? You know, maybe they exist as a planet or as a gas cloud or as more abstract things like numbers. Maybe they exist as gravity. You know, it's all stuff that's very almost incomprehensible to us. But who says we have to be able to comprehend the existence of these aliens? You know, just like an ant probably can't comprehend the existence of atoms or molecules or stuff like the internet, maybe aliens exist in a way that we just can't see or can't realize. Exopsychology is similar in ways to exoarchaeology in that it tries to apply basically psychology to aliens. So it's again mostly hypothetical, theoretical at this point, but it's a proposed field of study that would go into, you know, how alien minds work and often tries to, you know, think outside the box as to how aliens are. You know, are they necessarily like humans where we fight wars, we fight over resources, we reproduce with, you know, the jiggy? Or perhaps are these aliens not aggressive at all? Have they got a completely different mind and, you know, brain makeup? Maybe they don't need oxygen or water to survive. Maybe when reproducing they just like split like amoeba or something. And yeah, I think similar to alien archaeology, this will probably take off more the deeper and deeper into space that we get and the, you know, more evidence we get for aliens. But that is the idea of exopsychology. Alien meteorites strike. So this is a fascinating entry covering the 2014 meteorite, and it was named CNEOS 20140108, which bloody catchy name, I know. But this was a meteorite that landed or crash landed down in these waters near Papua New Guinea. And what was notable about this meteorite was that it was the first recorded interstellar meteorite to crash land on Earth. You know, interstellar meaning from another star or another solar system. As most of the stuff that hits Earth, most of the meteorites and the asteroids, etc., are just from our own solar system. You know, they came originally from the sun, got blown off, and then they're kind of rotating around. But this one particularly came from another star system. And as well as this is something we covered actually in the Unsolved Mysteries iceberg, that being the asteroid Oumuamua, which was discovered in 2017 and also comes from another solar system. Now, it's likely that over, you know, a million years, a billion years, that this sort of thing probably happens quite a bit. But over, say, an entire lifetime, it's incredibly unlikely to happen. So yeah, maybe in the last million years, in the last 100,000 years, it's happened here and there, but never in recorded history. And our nearest other solar system is like 4 million light years away, so very, very far, and it has traveled seemingly all that way to crash into Earth. At least all that way, because it might have come from another solar system. So people were super excited about this because they thought that maybe it might contain life of some kind, or little bits of evidence of alien life or technology on the rock or something like that, which they haven't officially found yet, but it is still a very interesting event, and fingers crossed for them discovering something within it soon. Exopolitics. And there's a lot of exo things in this iceberg. But similar to psychology and archaeology, exopolitics basically tries to apply politics to aliens. So is this alien civilization like a dictatorship or a monarchy, or something closer to democracy, or something else that's entirely better than anything we can imagine? You know, do they have wars? How are their resources doing? Do they elect people? Do they vote people in? How are their countries divided up? Do they have intergalactic federations or councils? And it's a very interesting idea, I think, just to throw out and to talk about and discuss ideas. And as with all of these exo things, we don't really have much or any proof for them, which I think in my eyes kind of makes them super interesting thought experiments. And that is all we have time for. I have a special episode in this alien series coming up next week, or maybe if you're lucky in the next few days, and that will tie a cute little green alien-shaped bow on this entire alien iceberg package. Definitely stay tuned for that one. It'll be a very fun one. So I will see you there, and as always, thanks for watching.